It's not TV, it's HPO.
It's not TV, it's HBO.
Hope, positivity, and optimism.
Hope, positivity, and optimism.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous. Mwah.
Meet Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Jason Jaffe, you my friend. Jason Jaffe, you too. You famous.
You famous?
You famous.
No, you famous.
You famous.
No, you famous.
You famous.
Yes, we famous.
Oh, very good, very good. Oh, I love you. I love you. Goodbye, goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Jason Jaffe, my friend. Jason Jaffe, my friend.
Goodbye.
I love you, Jason Jaffe. Wow. I love you, Jason Jaffe. Wow. Very good. Thank you.
A spring in your step. There is a twinkle in your eye.
I can throw a rhyme down for you real quick. Yes, they call me Thrill. They say that I'm the man. You disagree? How could you? Let me make you understand.
Should we bring her on the show? And anybody's like me. And there she is.
Fresh as some bread. Pull right from the oven. When you feel rejected, get some my loving.
On me.
She looks wonderful. Mom looks amazing.
Somebody too. Okay, Mom, bugger off now. I've got to show it to you.
You like that?
Joseph Jaffe, ladies and gentlemen.
You just made the new intro of the show. Yeah, there's a lot going on in that whole intro. First of all, you saw a lot of my mom, who, as many of you know, passed away in January. And, you know, one of the things I really wanted to do when I was going back the final time, which actually didn't happen, she had passed away before, was maybe to do an episode of my show with her as my guest. But, you know, she was pretty frail at the time, and even though that never materialized, just having that little cameo on the show, it just fills me with so much hope, positivity, and optimism. And in fact, you know, she coined the term. She said HPO, and suddenly the connection, hey, it's not TV, it's HPO as opposed to HBO. And so she came up with my tagline without even knowing it. And so immortalized. I mean, isn't that about legend and legacy? Now, I also debuted a couple of new intros. One of them is from a company called Dance Greetings, a real strong African flavor. And of course, I am from South Africa. You can take the man out of Africa, but you cannot take Africa out the man, says he, with Nelson Mandela on his shoulder. So a little bit of a change, a little bit of an intro. And then, of course, Elon Musk, not Elon Musk, but Elon Musk. And, you know, to all the people saying that that was a deep fake, I'm probably more of a deep fake than the individual Elon Musk that you saw chatting to me. As far as I know, that was very, very real. So just a little bit of fun. But today we're going to talk to a really, really famous person. We're going to talk to my guest. Will he wear the hat is the question. Nobody knows whether he'll wear the hat or not. But I'll tell you, David Drebin is... The energy in the green room is palpable. I've always wanted to use that word palpable, not in a spelling bee competition, but just in a sentence. And guess what? I just did. David Drebin will be on the show shortly, and I'm excited to discuss a whole bunch of things, including but not limited to hats, period. Hashtag hats. Although I suppose if you think about it, if the hashtag looked like an S, it might come across as shat. But, you know, that's another story for another day. It's a different kind of show. This is not what the show is about. But if you do like the show, please subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to me. Choose me. Choose me for free. And I will give you my engagement. I will give you my blood, my sweat, my tears. I will give you 110% of me until the very day that I leave this earth. All you have to do, how's that for a setup, is go to bit.ly/subscribe to the show to subscribe to the show. Now, every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I don't create enough content. Well, I do actually something else, which is a virtual coffee Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in our Discord server. All you have to do, if you like this, if you want to hear more of me, and who would, but if you did, you would go to discord.gg/Alpha Collective and click on the Collective Cafe. We manifest on Monday. We have Thought Leadership Tuesday, Wellness Wednesday, where we really talk about health and wellness and mental health. Thursday, we do live book reads. And Friday is No Agenda Friday, where we have absolutely no agenda. And everyone is invited on the stage. Today, in fact, this morning, we discussed the idea of relatability and reverse relatability. And if you want to know what reverse relatability is, you can actually access any of our archives by going to bit.ly/collective cafe to go. We actually put this out as a podcast every single day. Listen, all I know how to do is create content. I am a content creator, and I love it. And I love it. And I found out and I realized, and I almost came to this beautiful realization that my red thread, my raison d'etre is teaching, is all about helping people, inspiring people, motivating people. That is HPO. That is hope, positivity, and optimism. And so it is so super appropriate to have David on my show to talk about the soliloquy, which is always an homage dedicated to my guest. And this one is called Follow Your Dreams. You know, I have been called a dreamer, and not always in a good way, maybe not in a good way at all. You dream too much. You're a dreamer. You're too romantic. You're too idealistic. You're not grounded. You're not practical. You're not tactical. You're not pragmatic. You've got to be able to put your head down and do the ugly stuff and roll up your sleeves and get a job and stop thinking about a better world and a better place and being able to create a vision and a legend and a legacy that is so much bigger than you could ever have been, that lives after you leave this earth. The world doesn't need another dreamer. The world needs another doer. Not a thought leader, but a thought doer. That is what I've been told by people very, very close to me. And you know what? I can't stop dreaming. I can't stop being a dreamer. But one of the things that David says today, which is so perfect, is he says, follow your dreams, but have a master plan in place in order to bring them to life. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the importance of dreams and being a dreamer and being able to think about not the world as it is, but the world as it could be. The world maybe as it should be. A better world, a different world, a world that is more inclusive, more welcoming, more open. Maybe not a world that is just filled with yes men and yes women and yes people. Maybe a world of debate and discourse and even disagreement, respectful disagreement. But a world without dreams is a dead world, is a world that is dying, that is decaying. It is a world perhaps not even worth living for, because if you're not dreaming, I believe you are dying. And so now it is time to bring on the dreamer himself, the head dreamer, the CDO, the Chief Dream Officer, David Drebin. But before we do that, I always love it when someone comes in with a sizzle reel So take it away, sizzle reel.
I'm a happy dreamer. I believe in love. I'm a happy dreamer. Guess I'm not the only one. I'm a happy dreamer. I believe in love. I'm a happy dreamer. Guided by the stars above. I'm a happy dreamer. I believe in love can change the world. Ooh, yeah. I'm a happy dreamer. I believe in love. I'm a happy dreamer. I believe in love. I'm a happy dreamer. Looking out for the sun. I'm a happy dreamer. I believe in love can change the world.
I'm a happy dreamer. I mean, if that doesn't put you in the best possible mood, nothing will. Hello, David. Welcome to the show.
What an intro.
I mean, listen, you created the sizzle reel. I love it. And as I'm watching the video for the second time, I got this idea, the idea of a happy dreamer. What is a happy dreamer versus just a dreamer?
I don't really think about a happy dreamer. It doesn't really, I think it all starts with a dream in your mind. But so often in the process of following your dream, you have to encounter so much frustration. So it's almost the opposite of what a dream really is, because there's so many obstacles along the way. It's like, it's a dream to be a happy dreamer, but it's not realistic. But sometimes you have to have a delusional belief in yourself to actually follow your dream.
Yeah, and what is happiness at the end of the day? Happiness is fulfillment. Happiness is the journey. Happiness is the ability to be on your own journey. I like the idea of like dreaming about the happy dream, as long as it's not a nightmare, I suppose, just to extend the metaphor. Can you have a happy nightmare, I suppose? Not really, right? I don't know. But let's bring it back from esotericisms, if that's even a phrase. And we have a little segment here we call fun facts. And you know, when I asked you now for your fun facts, or before for your fun facts, I didn't get too much, but I got enough in terms of what I needed, because you said you may appear crazy or eccentric, but it's just a front. Nothing wild about you in any way. So I mean, I like the idea that you're actually like trying to like wave off your craziness or your eccentricity, but you say it's a front. Does that mean, is it a mask? Tell me what that means in your words.
I think people judge you by what you do for a living very quickly. So I created a character that is an artist in other people's minds, but I've never really seen myself that way. And if you're too normal, then you won't come across as an artist. So I created this character who wears hats and who comes across a little bit wild and eccentric. And that's really just because I'm a truth seeker, and I'd rather tell the truth than fabricate some sort of lie. So, but in a way, it's a fabrication for other people's perception, but it's not really. It's the alter ego for who I really am, but it's a character that I actually created. I've never introduced myself to anybody as an artist, ever. I've never seen myself that way, ever. So it's just, we all have to create characters to survive in the world and to protect the real version of ourselves.
No, I find this very, very interesting because you're talking about alter egos, you're talking about characters, but you're also talking about truth. So the interesting thing is the character is not false or fake. It's just an alter ego. And I don't know that people understand the idea that the character is an extension of your persona, but still authentically is your persona or someone else.
You know what a real breakthrough for me was? Instead of entertaining other people, I actually love to entertain myself. So sometimes I interact with people just to entertain myself, because I love watching people perceive other people, and they're so often wrong. So why not create a character? Because no one's ever thinking about you anyway. They're just not. People are thinking about themselves. And when I made that breakthrough into realizing that no one's ever thinking about anything really other than themselves, then I created a character to entertain myself while I interact with other people. I'm very compassionate. I really love other people. I don't really trust a lot of people, but I really love everybody. I just don't trust many. So for me, it's just all fun. It's the world is a stage, and I just want to have fun at all times.
You know, I have these, I tell you, when I have these moments that you describe, generally it's going to be when I'm slightly tipsy, when I've had maybe a drink or two, or sometimes maybe something like I guess it's legal here, a gummy. And I just get in this very not introspective. I get in this frame where everyone and everything amuses me. I almost feel like that sense where I'm in wonder. I'm in wonder of everything and everyone around me. And I'm paying attention. There is a self-awareness, a heightened self-awareness. And the word amusing is a word that comes to mind because I'm amused. I'm amused by everything around me. And I wish I could hold on to that feeling in that moment, and then it fleets and we get back to normal.
Let me ask a question. What percentage of people that you interact with on a daily basis are fun, funny, make you laugh? What percentage a day?
Including me, 100%. No,
besides you.
Well, I mean, I'm going to answer the question based on my guests, because I spend a lot of time at home still and doing the show. And I would say that in terms of making me laugh, every episode of the show, I experience that. But it is a mirror. And it's what you and I were discussing before, which is this idea that you don't like doing video because you don't want to keep looking at yourself. By the way, there's a beautiful thing on Zoom, which is called hide self-view, which is terrific because you stop looking at yourself.
I think most people on Zoom calls are looking at themselves, actually. I don't love doing Zoom calls with people because I think they're looking at themselves. And I think in most conversations, people are thinking about themselves. So I just use that as part of my psychological arsenal into dealing with people.
And so how do you make, I mean, in the art that you create, in the voodoo that you do so well, how do you feed into that, this idea, this indulgence, this, and it's everything from indulgence maybe on the one continuum to this idea of insecurity and need for validation maybe on the other. How does your art feed into that?
I don't deal with that with my work in any way, ever. It doesn't even cross my mind. When I set out to make a photograph, for example, I'm thinking about a story first, and then the character is going to fit into my story, much like a casting of a movie. It's all about what is the story. And so often the story is what happened before the moment and after the moment, and rarely ever the moment. Because when I make a photograph, I want people to imagine the story on either side of the moment itself. So those aren't issues I even dabble into. It's when I interact with people on a personal level and I watch people when I'm interacting with them, I don't really listen to the voice speaking to me. I imagine the voice speaking to them while they're speaking to me. I like to get inside of people's heads and get the real truth out of people. That's what motivates me. Truth, which often gets me in a lot of trouble. I can fake it, but I don't like how I feel when I fake it. I'd rather be straightforward and honest, but you can't always be that way. Otherwise, you get yourself in trouble.
I think one thing that I've learned is when you are authentically honest, if that makes sense, you generally have these guardrails that will help guide you through a potential minefield. Because honesty, to your point, can come at a price. But authentically honest, if it really is who you are and people understand and love you and appreciate and respect you for who you are, it is part of your integrity. And it creates, I don't want to say like a safety net, but it certainly creates those guardrails that allows you to operate in a lane that most people won't dare go down. So that's how I would interpret it. Now, you know, when I asked you for these fun facts, you will be pleased to know that there are no bad, you know, in the presence of a photographer. I'm embarrassed by my even worse attempts of Photoshop. So I won't do that to you anymore. But I really loved your some of your Drebinology. We'll get back to Drebins and Drebinology in a minute, because I love the fact that you've branded everything about you, hat or no hat. One thing you said is, I prefer or understand others than be understood. And to me, this talks to...
I prefer to understand others than to be understood.
I was thinking, I prefer to understand others than be understood. So this also talks to, I think, curiosity, and it talks to your love for people, as opposed to recognizing maybe where you fit into their lives. So talk a little bit about this. I'm not going to call it a Drebinism. In fact, I am going to call it a Drebinism as opposed to Drebinology.
I had a girlfriend once, and we would say, I love you to each other. And I just never believed in I love you. I always believed in I love myself with you. And I think that's what love really is. It's saying to somebody, I love myself with you, as opposed to I love you. I don't believe that. No, I believe you love yourself when you're with me and how I make you feel. And I love myself with you because of how you make me feel. And that's what real love is to me. So I'm always thinking about how other people feel when they're with me and how I feel when I'm with other people.
It makes a lot of sense. And what about this idea of understanding versus being understood? And can you ever understand someone from your vantage point, from being on the outside looking in?
When I think about understanding other people, for me, it's a character thing. I'm always looking at people and I'm thinking to myself, are you going to bring out my magic, or are you going to bring out my madness? And am I going to bring out your madness, or am I going to bring out your magic? I like a magic and magic relationship. I don't like relationships that are based on madness, but I love to create drama and madness in my art, but I don't want any drama or any madness in my life. my work is really my observations about the world, but I am not my work. It's only how I perceive the world around me. But that's not me. It's the alter ego that I created to deal with understanding the world around me.
Now, when people attempt to understand you, and I kind of like the juxtaposition between magic and madness, because also magic, if you look at Jungian archetypes and the whole idea of being able, the sorcerer, the magician can use their magic for good or evil, dark magic, etc. And of course, becoming too much in love with yourself or too infatuated or too self-absorbed can lead to madness as well. But when people actually attempt to try and understand you, one of the things that they might do is judge you. And something that you spoke about, which really rings true to me as well, is this idea of being underestimated. You love it. You feed on this idea of being underestimated so no one can see you coming. I'm like that as well. I love the ability to say, I told you so, to prove people wrong. I'd prefer them not to put me in that position, but when they do, underestimate me at your peril. So talk a little bit about how that has informed and inspired you in your own journey.
Well, there's a couple of different questions you asked me here, but I think when people are looking at other people, they're often looking to be validated by those people. So I just become a mirror for the person that I'm with, and at the same time, hopefully create value in their minds. If you don't have value in someone's mind, they don't care what you think of them. If you have value in someone's mind, then they really care what you think of them. So the key is to constantly create value and know what your value is. And a lot of people don't really know what their value is. It's all about value.
Well, let's do that. How do you find out what your value is? Is that and is it something? Is it self-worth? Is it something that comes from within, or is it something that has to be validated externally?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing that I do when I meet anybody is I want to see how present they are in the conversation that we're having. So if I meet with somebody, I can tell very quickly if they're present. Are they on their phones? Are they distracted? I want to see what their focus is. And when I feel like people are really distracted and not focused, I have a lot of fun with those people because I'll say something and they won't listen, but they'll pretend they're listening. And then I'll say to that person, what did I just say? So it becomes fun for me. All interactions for me are fun.
I'm sorry, what was that again? I
said,
I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
I gave you a little bit of the, so I was trying to see if you were paying attention. I did get a little distracted because you said something like I was thinking immediately, I was like, here's your next book, David. Not distracted driving, but distracted engaging or distracted relationships. So I love the concept, by the way. It's very rich. It's very rich because of the concept of distracted driving. Well,
what I think. Listen, Joseph, I think most people are full of shit. They think about themselves. They don't have a lot of compassion, and they're not that empathetic. And I'm actually an optimistic pessimist. And some people are pessimistic optimists. And I really want to bring out the best in people, and I really want to love people, but I'm looking at intentions and I'm looking at what's important to people. Those are the two things that I look at whenever I meet anybody. What are your intentions and what's important to you?
I love it. Listen, you just gave me at least one clearly obvious 1-minute highlight. I mean, those are and that's beautiful. Your intentions versus what's important to you. But that's empathy, right? It's also it's empathy. It's being an active listener. It's exactly why I have no questions for you. It's exactly why I have absolutely no idea where the conversation would go, except for a couple of markers. And I really, for me, the optimistic pessimist is someone that says, hope for the best, plan for the worst, which is fine. Which is fine, because if you plan for the worst, guess what? You're never going to be disappointed. And if you hope for the best, then the sky's the limit. And I think the difference is the person who we actually discussed it this morning in coffee. We spoke about empathy, etc. Is that when things are good, you're not kind of living waiting for the other, what's the other shoe to drop. You're not living in dread. You can actually be present and be in the moment and love the good times, as opposed to anticipating that all hell is going to break loose at some point. Because for me, that's an awful way to live. Does that make sense in terms of the optimistic pessimist versus the pessimistic optimist? What is the pessimistic optimist, by the way? That's the pessimistic optimist, I suppose.
I think a pessimistic optimist is someone who is kind of negative person. And I think an optimistic pessimist is actually a really positive person because they manage expectations. It's all about managing expectations.
Yeah,
in
I
the
agree.
battle between your imagination and your reality. And so often we are living in our minds and not in reality. So we're living in what's going to happen or what happened, but not in this actual moment right now. And life's just a series of moments. That's it.
Right. Well, if I pause what you just said, life is a series of moments, but the joy and the beauty of it is in everything that happens before and after those moments. I'm just kind of framing what you said, because I love that idea. It is a series of moments, but it's less about maybe the moment and more about everything around the moment. Would that be a good bridge back to what you said initially?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, I'm having a moment right now with you, but the before and the after are almost more fun than the moment itself. It's true. When I go back and I watch a show, as present as I hope to be, and as much as I hoped I was in the moment, there will be all these little bits of magic that I missed. Sometimes it's body language. Sometimes it's just, wow, that was an amazing point. I wasn't able to capture it. But there are a lot of moments in this. And one might even describe these moments as Drebinology. So I I had a little bit of fun, by the way. So it's interesting from an artist standpoint. We're living in these very interesting times. This Web3 world with creator royalties, being able to take the struggling out of struggling artists. You are not a struggling artist per se, but there are a lot of struggling artists. And then we're also living in this world now of AI and chat GPT, and everything being stripped away and automated, etc. So the first thing I did was I actually went to ChatGPT, as I often do, and I basically said I wanted to, and I asked ChatGPT to basically, I said, multidisciplinary artist David Drebin is the guest on my show. He has many inspirational sayings, which he calls Drebinology. Example, you have to teach people how to treat you. Please rewrite his bio by transforming it into a series of pithy, witty Drebinology sayings. So I'd like to kind of share with you what the machine did, and you can tell me.
My mind. I just looked into this yesterday. My friend showed this to me yesterday. It was like, oh my God, it floored me. Well, this shit fucking floors me. I love it.
Well, let's go through them, and I'll tell and you can tell me whether you can tell me in real time whether you like them or not. So the first one is, and what I'll do is you tell me whether you like the format. So the first one I'll do one way, and the second one I'll do the second way. So the first one is design your life like you design your art. And this is on graduating from Parsons School of Design in NYC. The second one is on being a multidisciplinary artist. The Drebinology is art knows no boundaries, embrace its many forms.
Did I say those two things?
No, that's the beauty of it. What the machine has done is create a Drebinology, a Drebinism.
Oh, because that's not the way I would say something, but I get it.
All right. So for example, number 3, let your work light up the world like neon on a dark night, on his various limited edition works.
I just would never say that, but okay.
Well, that's interesting because what you're talking about is voice, right? So, for example, on your first comprehensive illustrated book, Love and Other Stories, in 2007, the Drebinology is love and stories captured in the pages of life. I'll give you, and here's one where actually on his unique and instantly recognizable artworks, the actual Drebinology is Drebinology, the art of being unmistakably yourself.
I like that.
So the machine has actually, on your artistic style, epic, dramatic, cinematic, painting life in bold strokes.
Okay.
Here's, I'll give you, should we do one more?
As many as you like.
All right. So on offering viewers a dramatic insight into relatable emotions and experiences, the Drebinology is emotions as art, experiences shared through a frame. So that's just a little bit of fun. Now, I guess the follow-up would be, first of all, my insight on your reaction was, this is fucking cool. I'm interested in finding out more. But your first reaction was, that's not my voice. And what I've had to teach myself as an innovator myself, and is that you can never say never with technology, with progress, with innovation, etc. Because soon enough, if not already, the machine, ChatGPT, will create these Drebinisms or Drebinology in your voice. How do you feel about you as an artist being, what is your role now in this automated and artificially intelligent world? Will you be replaced? Is this a partner? What makes you different? How are you reconciling the world and how it's changing?
Well, everything changes and everything ends. But I love to imitate my friends, and I love when my friends imitate me. So I think this is great.
Everything changes and everything ends. And I guess the other point about it is can the machine become your friend? If you talk about you imitating your friends and your friends imitating you.
I love all this shit. It's just another vehicle. I think it's great. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, chat, people imitating you, people trying to be you. Because I know the truth. So it's just all another great tool. I love this. I love it. I think it's great. The world's always changing. You're only your age for 365 days. Then you're the next age. Then you're the next stage. You're always changing. It's always moving. You can't control change. Change is beautiful.
I would agree. No, but you said, I know the truth. What is the truth?
What is the truth? Well, when I hear applause or I hear boos, which is actually kind of rare. I wish I heard more boos because I love to fight people to take me from being the beta person that I am to being alpha, because we always vacillate between alpha and beta, and critics can take me from a beta state to an alpha state. But if I agree with what they're saying, then I agree with what they're saying. So I don't really take and voice my opinions online very much. I usually keep it to myself because I learned many years ago, it's very difficult to win an argument with a smart person. And it's impossible to win an argument with a dumb person. And I quickly, in conversations that may not be going the way I want them to go, ask myself, is it worth it to have a fight over this? Because I really manage my energy. And I think in the long run, if it's worth it, it's worth it. And if it's not worth it, and you think 2 + 2 is 9, no problem. 2 + 2 is 9. I agree with you.
It's almost, I mean, if you had to reconcile, it's very hard to win an argument with a smart person. It's almost impossible to win an argument with a dumb person. Therefore, if we want to solve this equation, the equation would be don't have arguments.
I try to keep the magic.
Or don't try and win them.
life.
Just have them, but don't feel the need to win them.
Yeah, because sometimes when you win an argument, you're really losing the argument.
True.
So I really, as I've gotten older and had more experience, I'm much more strategic with when I want to prove my point and when I'm willing just to walk away and ignore the person.
Now, we spoke about, I've been having a little bit of fun with Drebinology and Drebinisms, as I'm calling them. But let's actually go to your beautiful, let me figure out the best way to show this, your Drebinology. You've got all of these wonderful sayings, and I'll pick this one. I like the art of business. All things being equal, we should be able to have a bit of sound on this too.
I like the art of business, and I like the business of art. I kind of look at myself as not really an artist or an entrepreneur, but more like an entrepreneur. I like.
You're actually giving you're giving consultants a bad name because you're giving us too much competition. The entrepreneur, and I love, by the way, and the business of art and the art of business. Let's talk about that for a second, because the corollary of that is the science of business and the business of science. We never. I studied, my undergraduate degree was called a Bachelor of Business Science, not a Bachelor of Business Art. Why is there so little art in business? Why is there so much science in business?
I can't really answer that question. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Why is there not enough art in business? I think business is art. I think everything is art. The way you think, the way you speak, the way you interact with people, the way you dress, the way you walk. It's all art to me. What's art? What's business? There are these labels that people put onto these things, but we all have different definitions often to the same words. And in conversation, you have to figure out if you have the same definition of words with the person that you're interacting with. For example, sometimes someone's voice can sound like they're enraged, but they're actually just very passionate. But people are off. This is a world full of people who feel misunderstood. So many people feel misunderstood. And that's what is going on every day with most interactions. You don't understand relationships. You don't understand me. Well, you don't understand me. And the goal is to actually understand, because we're all going to be misunderstood. So expect to be misunderstood, but do your best to understand other people. And understanding other people is really about having compassion. And wanting to be understood is really about ego. And ego is ultimately the enemy.
You're going to get, you could get applause, but instead you're going to get the air horn. I love that. I mean, it really does talk. It talks to me. It talks to me very, very directly. And all I could think of is when someone says you don't understand me, the response should be, well, help me. Help me. Then tell me. You know, like let me not guess. I think about also the subjectivity of art itself. And leaving something open to interpretation. You know, David, you answered my question perfectly for someone that actually said that they didn't have an answer, because, you know, when it comes to art, there are different definitions. I think when it comes to science, there aren't many different definitions. There's only one definition. There's one interpretation. Science is science. It is or it isn't. It's not 256 shades of gray. It's black or it's white. But with art, you have the beautiful managing the gray. You have the subjectivity versus the objectivity. And it's not either or, it's and. And I think when you put the two of them together, you get this beautiful, happy middle ground. So I think you nailed it.
Thank you for understanding me.
Thank you. Now I want one more. We're gonna talk about the key. I mean, there's so many. I'm just gonna spend the rest of my day looking at this. But the key to being successful. Let's hear what you had to say about that.
I think the key to being successful is to never think you're that successful.
I love it. The key to being successful is to never think you're successful, because again, subject to interpretation. What is success? What is success? What's your definition of success?
Well, no success nor failure is ever final. And success is not a money thing for me. The way I actually look at it is this, is I love girls and I love money, but I never chase girls and I never chase money. So instead of chasing butterflies all day long, I'd rather build my own garden. And then one day you're going to see all these butterflies in the garden that you built. And that's what success is to me. Building your own garden and enjoying the process of planting the seeds.
There's something also that speaks to the idea of building your own garden. There's curation, there's love, there's care, there's focusing on what you can control. There's this idea of home. It feels warm and it feels grounded and it feels very natural, as opposed to chasing. It's almost like the concept of tomorrow, right? Tomorrow never comes. When you're constantly running from or running to or chasing, you're always there's always a flux or a fluidity. Whereas I think when you build a garden, metaphorically or even quite literally, there's something that feels very close to home and therefore very reassuring and safe. Even though maybe that might not be your intention, because you love money, you love women, you're not necessarily chasing them. That doesn't mean that you're not going to end up.
No,
with
not necessarily. I don't chase them. I don't chase money and I don't chase women. It's a pursuit that will never be satiated. So I build my own garden and I look at all of this like butterflies that enter into my garden, and to never chase butterflies, because you're never going to catch them. And thirsty people are always left thirsty people. And that's a little Drebinology for you right there.
Yeah. Is that an original? Was that just created right now?
All on the spot. All on the spot. All on the spot.
I'm gonna give you the gold Jerry Gold one for that.
That's gold, Jerry. Gold.
See, that's what happens when Wayne's World takes over the Daily Show for business. Thirsty people are always going to remain thirsty. Was that the Drebinology?
Well, pretty much, because when you have desire, so often desire is never met, or it's met briefly, but desire is often insatiable. Hence, more desire.
Well, I'm looking forward to that little bit of Drebinology. Please let me know when it goes live.
Are you enjoying our conversation right now? That's a question I have for you. Are you enjoying this?
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Tell me why.
I'm loving it because I'm feeling very I'm feeling challenged. It's deep, but it's not deep as in it's not like out of reach or out of sight. I feel like where I catch myself is the show is called Joseph Jaffe's Not Famous because it's not about me, it's about my guests. So sometimes I get a little bit too self-aware, which is, am I talking too much? Am I giving too much of my own opinion? But I'm comfortable. I'm very comfortable in the moment and having a conversation with you where it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm the host, you're the guest. It feels like two people are having just...
I'll tell you, I sorry to interrupt, but I've never met you in person. We're meeting right now, but you're a very complicated guy. And I think it'd be really important for you to take some of your complicated thoughts and simplify them, because your mind is very complicated, very active. And how can you take complicated thoughts and simplify them? And that's something that I think that you've struggled with for a long time, is to simplify your complicated thoughts for the people that you're interacting with. I can take them because I love studying your imagination, and I'm grateful to be on your show. Very grateful. So thank you for having me on the show. And I hope you don't mind that I said that. Hope you don't mind.
No, and it's very true, actually. It's very true. My struggle, my life struggle, is to be more succinct. That's a personal struggle. Professionally, is the art in being able to, even coming from advertising and marketing, is how do you distill the complicated, the complex, into something that is simple, not oversimplified, not simplistic as well. But the other part of it is I mirror the energy of my guest. So I'll be very different with a different guest.
Do you like my energy? Do you think it comes across as wild and eccentric in any way?
No.
Exactly. But you know what? When people think I'm crazy and eccentric, I have them exactly where I want. So I love creating that perception, because then it becomes like putty to me. It's fun. Like, oh, what do you think about this? Oh, what do you think about that?
But do people expect that? Do people then come to you from, clients or partners or sponsors or whatever? Do they come to you expecting the persona, expecting the craziness, the wackiness, the eccentricity?
When I interact with people, I'm always thinking about how I can be of value to that person and what that person thinks of themselves. I don't really think what someone thinks about me. I think, what do you think about yourself? And that's very freeing for me. Instead of thinking, what do you think of me, to think, what do you think of yourself? And that's something that I study. Even with you, I'm thinking, thank you for having me on your show. But what does Joseph Jaffe think about Joseph Jaffe? That is interesting to me. But it's your show, so I have to be a guest on your show. But this is a thought that has come across my mind repeatedly.
You don't. You can absolutely become the co-host. You can ask.
I don't want to turn this into my show. I could turn this into my show, but this is your show, and I'm a guest on your show, and I'm grateful for that.
I love the gratitude, and also I want you to be as comfortable as you. I use the word comfortable. I'm very comfortable with you, and not necessarily because comfort doesn't necessarily mean easy. Comfortable means I like the tension, not tension between us, but I like the tension in terms of being able, the intellectual conversation. I love it. I feel very comfortable in that. So by all means, if I only have two things left that I want to discuss with you, but by all means, you can ask me, what does Joseph Jaffe think of Joseph Jaffe?
Oh, we'll do that. We'll do that on our next call. So give me your last two questions then.
Well, they're not really questions per se, but the one thing is, I wanted to touch on dreams. I spoke about following your dreams because it came from the statement from you. Follow your dreams and have a master plan behind the dream and providing value for other people. I love the value part. I think we discussed that. I think we discussed follow your dreams, but talk about the master plan. What is a master plan? How does an artist, a creator, someone like yourself, marry and match the dreaming with the doing and the ability to bring those dreams to life?
I think most artists are thinking about themselves first and love saying that they're artists, and they're not thinking about the value that they can create for other people. And I think that the master plan is really your life's work. It's your obsession to be grateful and to make slow progress every single day. Things never turn out the way you think they're going to turn out. But if you're willing to adapt to the changes along the way and be patient in the process, then things can turn out so much better than you actually think. if you're constantly making progress every day and you're grateful for the opportunity to have found your life's purpose and to build your relationship with the universe and do the work for the universe. Because I actually think that it's an accident that your parents are your parents. The universe created your parents who created you. So it's all about finding what your purpose is and then being grateful that you found this and then pursuing it every day and making slow progress every day. It's like going to the gym. If you do your chest one day in the gym, you're not going to have a great chest or your legs. But if you go repeatedly over years, then one day you're going to look in the mirror and say, wow, when did this happen? Well, it's the accumulation of years of work and relentless perseverance. It's not really about passion and dreams. It's really about discipline. While the motivation can sometimes waver, but discipline can never waver. And the master plan is all about the discipline behind the plan to pursue the dream.
You get the final side effects.
That's awesome.
No, we got lots of them. Yeah. My favorite one, by the way, from the sublime to the ridiculous, is when I say so being able to self-censor. No, but I love that. I mean, I did not expect that answer, not in a million years, that the master plan is your life's work. It is the work in progress. It is the journey, not the destination. It is the moments before the moment and the moments after. And then you came in just, if you really hadn't done enough in terms of deliver, discipline is important, because discipline speaks to resilience and grit and endurance and perseverance and keeping going. And sometimes just showing up and keeping on is a victory in of itself. And it's the only other thing that I was going to speak to you about is I always come up with a quote for my guest and talk about perfect timing. This is John Barrymore, who said, a man or a woman or a person, but a man is not old until regrets take the place of dreams. And I think that just speaks to it, what is age, what is legend, what is your life's work, what is the master plan? It's keep dreaming, and certainly have regrets along the way, but just make sure that the regrets don't take the place of or overpower the dreams. How do you interpret that statement?
I think it's kind of hokey, actually.
Well, you were thinking I could have done this for you.
I think a lot of people have big dreams, and that's all they are dreams. And they don't deal with walking through the mud in the pursuit of their dreams, because there's a lot of mud along the way. A lot of mud, a lot of quicksand, but you have to love the battles and all the characters that you meet along the way, the promises, the strangers who become friends, the friends who become strangers, the characters that you never thought that you would ever come through for and that you would never think would come through for you. The expectations, it's a variety of so many different things that you have to study in your mind, but be willing for things to change all along the way. A dream is just a dream without a plan.
And on that note, the mud. It's not the first time I've heard of the mud. Embrace the mud, the muck, the mire, the quagmire, the quicksand, the slow-moving stuff that slows you down but doesn't stop you in your tracks or in your trails. I'm looking forward to part 2, when we turn the tables on me and we finally answer what's going on in this complicated mind of mine. You're driving me crazy, David. I'm joking. I hope you enjoyed today.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me.
It was wonderful. It was different. I've taken a lot of notes. The only thing that holds me back sometimes from being truly present 100% is the fact that I try and take some notes. They end up looking like this, which basically tells me that I should have been a doctor based on the quality of the handwriting. But I'm going to marinade on my new friend, David Drebin, his Drebinology, his Drebinisms, his beautiful art that he calls Drebins. And hopefully...
Well, I don't call them Drebins. Other people.
Oh, other people do.
Call them that. But I don't ever label myself or my work as a certain way, because we're always changing and everything ends.
And it just did. And you know what is about to end is the show, but not until we find out what Chuck Norris had to say about you, David Drebin.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
And we will be back soon. Take care, everyone. From Connecticut and New York City, we are connected by the veins of the Metro North. Until the next time, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.